Hey everybody, this is Sarah Whitaker.
And Salty Dalty.
Here for Working the World, episode 12. Now, for those of you following us on TV, this is probably your first episode, but if you would like to go to your most favorite of your podcast platforms, we are on Spreaker, and we're also on YouTube with Lady Morgue 0240.
Mm-hmm.
So, the topic of today is finishers.
Mm-hmm.
We're for those of you that aren't aware, that we are actually talking about professional wrestling, and that's our main goal, to talk about professional wrestling. But at the same time, we want to talk about how it works in the professional world.
Mm-hmm.
Not just talking about like what's going on in the world, like what the politics are, who's getting booked. I mean,
Professional wrestler here who works part-time, not full-time.
Former professional wrestler and wrestling promoter, and I hope to be a professional wrestling promoter one day again, and then that would be awesome.
Well, still technically are, because doors have not officially been closed yet.
The doors have not officially been closed, but we started our promotion right at COVID, like February of 2020. And
Had no idea it was coming either till it was already here.
yeah. So we do have experience in professional wrestling as being in the business, and we want to talk about it as if being in the business and explaining it to people that might not be aware of it.
Mm-hmm. Give them like a educated perspective on the business, saying, "Oh, it's a bunch of hoo-ha, it's fake, blah blah blah." Give you a educated and informative view on it and why it is the way it is, why it works the way it works, instead of having somebody who sitting behind a keyboard with his papers all over his office looking like it's the middle of a hoarder's home telling you how it works even though they've never spent a day in their life. But anyway, I digress.
Well, we've been in the business and we have some authority to talk about it.
Yeah, you've been in technically, 23 years?
If you want to count my downtime, I started professional wrestling between 2002 and 2005.
2013 for me.
Took about 10 years off to search for myself, and I got into various entertainment gigs, such as American Idol. If you don't believe me, look for American Idol Sarah Whitaker for Omaha auditions on YouTube, and you would be able...
Still up?
It's still up. So... But then I got back into it about 2015, 2016, because I just had the itch again, and I wanted to get in, because I wanted to be a writer and a booker, because that was what I was good at.
And that's eventually what you became. It's just that situation dictates, like, yeah, we're going to have to do this ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd always want to run my own wrestling company, because there's a lot of things that are being done in the big leagues and even local that I don't agree with, and I wanted to try out and see if it stuck.
Right. And we ran from 2000 to... we had a year and a half about...
Yeah, 2020 to, it was...
Halfway into 2022.
Yeah, 2021.
Oh, 21, okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yep. Yeah, it was July of 21 where we had our last show.
Okay. I'm sorry, my brain's still catching up with myself, I suppose. But for this episode, we're here to talk about finishers.
Mm-hmm.
And the psychology of having a finish, having a move, a coup de grace, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
And our jargon of the day, because we have that for our podcast, is false finish.
Mm-hmm.
And could you explain what a false...
The dreaded false finish.
The dreaded false finish.
Okay, because the explanation between a lot of today's workers and Al Snow's view on it is a little bit different. But basically a false finish, according to the culture today, is probably something that is believable that could end the match, but doesn't. Like a big move. Like if I were to give you a superplex off the top rope and you kick out at 2, that'd be a false finish near the end of the match. Something to tease the end of the match. His thing on it is something I absolutely dread in today's wrestling personally, and I never let anybody do this for me. Nobody kicks out of the rock salt, is actually kicking out of your finisher.
Right.
As to up the ante, and unless I don't even really like it that much for like WrestleMania-esque matches, because I think it's kind of degrading to everybody else that hadn't kicked out. Say it's like, either that or how can I explain this in a very diplomatic way?
There's one way, like, if there's, like, for instance, both are at their last death's door and somebody pulls a finisher, but then there's a double down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's that time of rest where, yeah, he pulled off his finish.
When it's done in that context, I believe it's acceptable, because what I think makes even more sense on there is if they were to sell the finish over close to the ropes, referee counts as they're covering 1, 2, and they barely get their foot on the rope right before that 3. And I think that there's so much more drama in that. It's like, oh my God, he could have had him there if he would have been in position better, because kicking out of somebody's finish takes a lot of energy and effort. So you're saying it's like your finisher wasn't that effective. But when you go ahead and just do that little last gas and move it over there on the rope, I think that makes it a lot more respectable.
Right. Because, I mean, it's like, it doesn't take a lot of energy to put your foot on the rope.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean...
And that's something I don't see a lot of nowadays. I would like to see it make a little bit more of a comeback, because that was always used as a great finish. Or, way to go into the finish. And then, they would sneak up behind while the other wrestlers celebrating, because it used to be, like in the territory days, it'd be like somebody hit something big, count 1, 2, and then they put their foot on the rope, and referee still counts 3 but doesn't see it, and then they're lying there and they see it's like, oh my God, I made a mistake. Match continue, and then the heel would maybe go and roll up the babyface from behind, pull his trunks 1, 2, 3, something like that.
All right, so what's the difference between a signature move and a finisher?
That's a good question. Basically, a false finish in today's modern context, outside of what Al Snow has said in the past, and a finisher is actually something that finishes them off. Basically, a big move is a signature that you hit in the match that could believably end the match but doesn't. Then you have a finisher is something that's supposed to end the match, like the big move that does that. Pardon me, I'm getting over a little bit of a head.
So, like, when The Undertaker uses his choke slam,
mm-hmm.
That's not necessarily... That's one of his signatures, but it's not...
But he has finished people off with the choke slam in the past.
Yes, he has.
So, Mark Henry, Big Daddy V, trying to think of who else.
Kane.
Yeah. Goldberg. Yep, but he has finished people off with the choke slam, but that's like, the tombstone's like the next step up. Like, nobody, unless you're Shawn Michaels and Triple H later on in years, which, wasn't really, I mean, I get it, WrestleMania and all that, but I just have that old school mentality of like, dude, don't kick out people's finishers. That's just a me thing. You can agree or disagree with me. I just personally think it's, a little bit, I think it's a little bit anticlimactic when somebody does it, and does it again, and does it again, and does it again. Unless, like, it's in the context of what I just said, put your foot on the rope, or creating space, because, like, say somebody's been working on Undertaker's knee the whole match, he hits them with that tombstone, and he's selling the knee away because he knows that he's screwed on that, but he goes and crawls and takes 30 seconds to climb over to the guy before crossing his arms, for example. Then they get a shoulder up.
Right. So, putting that into consideration, especially like getting out of a finisher,
mm-hmm.
What's the psychology of a submission finisher?
That's actually where finishers kind of started, was in the territory days. Basically, like, Ed Strangler Lewis was known for his sleeper hold, and he could legitimately put people out with it. But, like, the psychology of it would be, like, if, I love this for a finish, too, because it's not degrading to, because anybody that's been put in, like, a legit sleeper hold, like a rear naked choke, knows you go out within, like, 10 seconds, something like that, especially if they latch it on good. Because one thing that I liked as a finish, going back to like the submission thing, like to protect your finish, would be to have them reverse out into a pin instead of going and actually breaking out of the hold. Because simply put, if somebody goes and breaks out of a submission hold, unless they're going crawling towards the ropes trying to get that rope break, or if they go and do something illegal like to get out of it as they're trying to latch on, like maybe rake their eyes or nut shot them or whatever, referee doesn't see it. And it's like, because I believe heavily in treating people's finishers with respect, because
Right.
yeah, for example, if somebody were to just go ahead and snap out of the drawn quarter when you were wrestling as Lady Morg, how angry would you be?
I would be, I mean, unless they were kicking and fighting from the beginning, because,
Yeah.
or like if I was like trying to put it on mid-match and they were trying to fight out of it. But I mean, just breaking out of it is.
Because that's the equivalent that I see of people actually kicking out and other people's finishers. Because like there's ways of being able to get a 2 count without kicking out.
Well, especially like with Ric Flair's figure 4.
Everybody reverse out of that figure 4.
Yes.
And it's like, and that had been done before, because actually talking about the evolution going forward, because Ed Strangler Lewis would latch on that sleeper hold, everybody knew you're going out, and he'd win the match that way. We're going closer to the era of, say, a Lou Thez and a Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, where they fight towards the ropes going at, because Lou Thez was famous for the SDF. Not the same way that Cena would put it on, but he would actually go and carefully put the toe in his hip and all that, and hook around the like a sleeper hold, hook around the bottom of the chin like this, and he make it look like it was a shoot, because it was a shoot hold. It's just that he wasn't applying pressure. At least some of the time he wasn't, because Lou had a reputation for straightening people out in the ring. Being world champion, people wanting to take the belt from him in a shoot because there's lots of money in there. They have a lot of reputation. But, going into that era of like being able to add the drama in a little bit more is kind of where people started, fighting out for finishers, but they were still being heavily respected. Like, I think it was Cowboy Bob Ellis who, I gotta correct myself if I'm wrong, but that did the pile driver first. So, or Wild Bill, it was either him or Wild Bill Longsons. I gotta look it up on my Google machine, but it was Wild Bill, yes. They invented the pile driver, then Nature Boy Buddy Rogers started using that, and that kind of started becoming the move everybody started trying to do as a finisher, finish people off with. Mad Dog Vachon used the pile driver, and then Jerry Lawler doing pile drivers for 40 years. So, actually closer to 50 now.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
I feel old knowing that.
We're both old, honey.
We're both old.
Yeah, haven't you seen that TikTok video? You're 25 when you're old?
Yeah. But going on the history of finishers and whatnot, I know some finishers got banned for various reasons, like such as the heart punch.
Yep, because of Ox Baker, storyline-wise, killing 2 people with it. One of them was Ray Gunkel, but Ray, the story that had a heart attack later on in the evening after the match, but that was because he had... I've heard stories like he had blood clot in there. I heard stories that he, had a bunch of chicken earlier in the day. It made him sick and he couldn't regurgitate it. So it's like that was, but they used that in storyline saying like, hey, Ox Baker killed 2 people with it. I'm trying, my name escapes me on the second name he did. I heard recently though, but I was going to say, man, it's like that was actually a believable finisher that people bought into. The pile driver was another one.
Pile driver.
Yeah, because that was actually outlawed by the State Athletic Commission because they saw it as an attempt to, end another wrestler's career by, I mean, if you did a pile driver in real life, you could kill somebody by axial load directly onto the skull and breaking their vertebrae. That's why they outlawed it, but at the same time, anybody that's taking one knows there's a way that you can protect yourself, and it's perfectly fine.
Alrighty. So let's see.
And another good one that they outlawed, yep, in WCW, I thought it was really cool when they actually had a botch actually make an angle out of it was when Kevin Nash powerbombed accidentally Big Show the Giant on his neck because he was, couldn't give him up. And he ended up, landing on his neck. And they said, it's like, oh, that was an honest attempt to put him out of wrestling for good. So they would fine Kevin Nash $50,000 every time he did the power bomb and suspend him and carry him out in handcuffs.
Alrighty. So, what makes a good finisher?
Terry Funk said one time, I had this repeated to me by one of the guys that broke me into pro wrestling, said you can get anything over as a finish so long as the people believe it and you beat people with it. But on the criteria, because I'm honestly more interested in hearing your opinion. What's the best finisher in your opinion?
Best finisher? Because of believability, I would say the ankle lock.
Ankle lock?
Yes, especially with Kurt Angle and especially with how he latches it on because, I mean, other than doing the boot spot where you, loosen the boot before he puts
that finished WrestleMania 20?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great finish. And that was Eddie's idea, and Kurt thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's because it's something that could break your ankle, and it looks like something that could break your ankle.
Especially when he'd add on the grapevine, adding another layer to it. I didn't see anybody hardly get to the ropes after he put on that grapevine, because you knew that, when he got that grapevine wrapped around the legs, you were done.
Well, I mean, especially because, especially from knowing how moves are being performed and whatnot, with the ankle lock, you don't necessarily have to, help him do it.
Kurt knows how to put it on because his credibility gets that move over. Like, if somebody for example, if you had, what would be a good example? The Great Khali put on an ankle lock. And it's like, it might be a little bit awkward for him to put that on because of how big his hands are to get your ankle in the correct position. But the ankle lock is perfect for Kurt Angle. None of that, you don't have to take a bump off of it.
Exactly.
It's like, you're right there, you're selling, trying to reach for the rope. But his credibility, because he's an Olympic gold medalist, gives that move credibility, and he makes people tap to it. So, or they go and, crawl to the ropes, or if he doesn't latch it on correctly, or if he's trying to latch it on, you see it quickly, you can go ahead and try to kick him away from you. You can go ahead and dive for it again, so it adds drama in that way without, burying the move.
Alrighty, so what are the top 3 finishers that you have up your sleeve?
Rock salt, rock salt, rock salt.
Aww.
No.
Come on. Okay, explain the rock salt to the people who don't know.
Okay, so basically my finisher, I call it the rock salt. It's a combination between the Rock's rock bottom or Uranagi to modern wrestling fans and Abyss's black hole slam, where it's kind of like the reverse of a spinning solo. Instead of spinning them clockwise, or counterclockwise, I'm spinning them clockwise. So I like to do it from dead start down, up, whoop, and I go down with them. I can sit out with it, but that's, the reason I do that is because I can do it to anybody that I get in the ring with pretty much and do it believably because of my height and my thickness. Number 2, it's something I feel comfortable doing that's, very safe and very believable to take. And I would even take that myself from somebody that, was just off the street, because that's how much I believe in it. C, because not only is it an easy bump to take, but I also, I'm going to go ahead and expose a little secret about it. When you actually spin the guy around and his legs are swinging and you're going down with him, it's actually dissipating some of the energy when you're going around, when you go down to the mat. So it looks devastating, but it actually is not that stiff of a bump to take because of you going down together, and the energy of you going straight down instead of going straight down, you're swirling around. That's dissipating some of the snap on that bump and that whiplash. So when you go down together, it's like, oh, that's easy. So that's why I have it as a finish. I'm just go ahead and expose my finish, but at the same time, You know, not everybody in the world that's watching my matches are going to watch the podcast worldwide, but at the same time, that's for you guys looking for a secret or two from the business. How's that sound?
Awesome sauce. Now your real top three finishers.
All right. Number one, Stone Cold Stunner. You could do it to anybody. It looked devastating. You could get, anybody to sell it. Or like Austin, like what I would really like to see Austin do when he would do it is the times where you hit a stunner and the guy'd still be on his feet. He hit another one, they take another big sell, and then he'd beat him. Because it'd be like, that's a good way of making your finish still credible, while still making the other guy look good because he didn't kick out. You gave him two stunners because first one knocked him silly, the second one knocked him out. So, because not every punch in boxing is going to knock you out, but at the same time, it'll knock you silly and then boom, kind of like Tyson doing the peekaboo, whoop, hit you with the uppercut. That's kind of psychology.
All right, number two.
Number two, Tombstone. Fits the Undertaker's gimmick perfectly. Looks like he's planting a tombstone strong enough to do it. I never heard of anybody for a shoot getting hurt on it. For a shoot getting hurt on it. And, lots of WrestleMania moments from him hitting that tombstone, like him ending Shawn Michaels' career or him winning a couple world titles off of it at WrestleMania. But, him hitting that tombstone looked like it just fit him like a glove. Number three. Stan Hansen's Lariat.
Yes. Lariato!
You know why? That thing was a shoot.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know who Stan Lariat Hansen was, he's still around. He's just been retired which, by the way, I think he had the greatest retirement ceremony of any wrestler of all time.
Yes, he did.
Yep. But Stan Hansen is legally blind. He can only see about this far away from him without his glasses. So he's nearsighted as a bat, and he's on record for saying this. So Hansen's wrestling style, because he was also brought into wrestling by the Funk family, Dory Sr., Dory Jr., and Terry. Those are the guys that trained him. They believed in, making it look as believable as you can, like actually laying him in. Well, that combined with the fact that he couldn't see you when he was throwing his left arm at your face, he had to make sure he made contact, and he just, sometimes couldn't get the mark of where he wanted to hit you perfectly, so a lot of guys would end up getting knocked out and end up getting a, busted jaw or, end up getting, his elbow in their face, cutting their forehead open, something like that. But it was... when he threw it, he committed to it, and it looked fabulous. So I will say this. I go ahead and gotta censor it because of public access TV. But there's a video, a YouTube short that just surfaced. He's wrestling Riki Choshu in Japan, and he calls for the lariat and whips Riki Choshu off, and he hits lariat, but he misjudges it and didn't hit him. And Choshu accidentally takes the bump before Hansen makes contact, and Hansen visibly gets upset. And I'm not going to repeat the words that he said, but it's like, you man. Yeah, you can go ahead and imagine from there. Then he picks him up, whips him off, and does it for real this time. It's like, I'm going to make sure I get a good one before I beat him. So.
Alrighty. That's our top three. Now we need to talk about the bastardization of finishes. And what used to be a good finisher back in the old days is no longer a finisher. And it's,
a lot of them,
DDT,
super kick.
Super kick is a big one.
Well, even pile drivers aren't even finishing people off now. Now you guys
power bombs.
Yep. Let's see what else. I see spears getting overused a lot. It's like if Goldberg speared you or somebody like Edge speared you because they would make it look believable. Now it's being used as like a high spot now, but we actually mentioned this on one of our previous episodes as well. It's just the evolution of the business because the stakes keep getting higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. Because, like, it's like, well, we can't really come back from this because we've already raised the bar so high. Yet at the same time, with the, like, I'll give you a great example. You know what I think the absolute best finish in the business today is? Drew McIntyre's Claymore.
Yes.
Because he can do that to anybody. It's an easy bump for his opponent taking him to take, and it looks like it just knocks you out anytime he does it. But at the same time, people have kicked out of it, but at the same time, they do it in a respectable way to where, like, they'll put their foot on the rope or what. Really, because I don't like the fact that some people nowadays, I'm not going to name any names, but first thing they do is hit their finisher and cover the guy. I'm not a fan of that. And I think that's something that if I had changed one thing about wrestling nowadays on the working sense, that'd be the first thing. Is like, no, never, ever, ever do that. Because a finisher is made to be built to. You could go for it and have them slip out the back door. So I like that psychology that you're trying to hit it, but you can't do it. They slip out the back door and maybe reverse it into something else because it adds to the story and when you finally hit it. But go ahead and do that unless you're just going to beat them right out of the bat. No. Nope, just not for me.
Not for you.
So, I actually have one question before we go ahead and wrap things up.
What's up?
Because, Terry Funk's had that rule that, you can get anything over as a finish so long as you beat people with it. But what are some finishers that you just have a hard time believing that can be a legitimate match ender?
Top of my list was Scotty 2 Hotty's Worm. Because it's like WORM, and then he's
and then
he's laying there for like half a minute, and it's like he's getting his wind back. It's like, I mean, well, okay, at least with the People's Elbow, The Rock gets the bloody thing over. And it's like...
Well, he sets it up with a spine buster, too, which is a big move in itself.
Oh, right. This is a true point.
Or a rock bottom, rolls over, kips up, then does the gimmick, throws the pad, rope, big elbow.
Right. But, I mean, the Worm is like... You're spending more energy doing a dance move than actually pinning the guy.
No, but people still enjoyed seeing it, though.
But people, you're right. But just on the believability factor, I mean, it's like, I know you don't consider it a finisher, but it's like another move was the finger poke of doom.
Yes.
Even though it wasn't a finisher, it ended the match with the stupidest thing, and everybody's complaining about it to this day, so...
Unless he was rubbing his feet on the carpet, for about 100 yards forward and zapped him with it, but... But I got to be honest, there is one that I think that tops them all, and it has been used in the past by multiple people. It's called the overdrive. Okay, imagine this. Kick the guy in the gut, grab him by the arm, and drape your leg while he's bent over the back of his neck, like this, and grab his arm, rear back, and spin him around. And he takes a flat back bump, and it's like... And you're going down with him. It's like, is there any way that could work even in, like, the most convoluted, like, movie coordination scene way anyway? It's like, I don't know. I think that there are just some things in wrestling that just need to say, hey, no.
Right.
No.
And on that note, it's time to go home.
Shoot, I wish we had a pencil here.
Why pencil?
Because back in the territory days, the booker or whoever was a timekeeper or whatnot would come out, pencil. That was the signature for the wrestlers to go home. Hold the pencil up.
Well, you can find us on podcast platforms across the globe. We can also have you on Facebook. Well, we do have a Facebook, but we're still working on it.
Yep.
YouTube, Lady Morgue 0240 is where you can find us. And stay classy.
And of course, shoot the half.
Shoot the half.
Gotta do it with this. All right, take care, everybody. See you next week.
Take care. See you next week.